once a month is a great idea. And I just want to say thank you for all the effort that everybody put into this. Yeah.
And for showing up in this weather and with all sorts of things going on. And, you know, we really couldn't have done much of anything without you all participating. So we really appreciate it. And I'm very grateful, especially on behalf of the animals who have been spared this month, and hopefully on an ongoing basis. So yeah, we'll do something social every month to try and reunite everyone and bring people back together to ask questions and just be friends and talk about good vegan stuff. So yeah, let's shoot some questions at us.
The Bible says we can eat animals.
Favorite question.
Can you do this?
DJ.
What is it? Well, the Bible does give Noah special permission to eat animals when he goes on the ark. That's true. But if you look at the diet originally prescribed in the Bible in Genesis, you'll see that he said, you may eat herbs bearing seeds, and you may eat fruit of the trees that bear their own seeds. Then he said to the beasts, you may eat the herbs and grasses. That was the original diet. That was the original healthiest diet in the Garden of Eden. Then as things went over, special covenants were made. And even in the time of Jesus, yes, Jesus fed the multitudes fishes, but he offered them a vegan alternative, which were the loaves. So even he gave a vegan alternative. So I don't think that you are specifically commanded to eat meat, but there are special times when you would eat meat. And the meat was made as a sacrifice to God. But remember Isaac and Abraham, so you wouldn't eat your own son. It's just, that was a special sacrifice. I'll let somebody else answer because I can go on for hours.
Great.
I just think there are a lot of things in the Bible that we actually don't do or don't follow because they don't apply to our times. But I don't know enough about the Bible to pull out specific instances. But if you look at the way women were treated and all rules about women's purity, and I mean, there are a lot of things that we don't, or slaves, you know, all the slavery ownership in the Bible. So there's so many things that we look to in the Bible as something maybe being appropriate for that time or something we learn from or as a history, but not as lessons for how to live today.
Also, I think a little bit that I know about it, it helped the local economy at the time because if you went into Jerusalem, you needed to buy the local dove or if you could afford it, the sheep or whatever, and then sacrifice it in the temple and then it was cooked. So it was an economic thing. You couldn't bring in your own things. You have to leave them outside.
Other commentary or new questions?
Just a comment. I went to Trader Joe's and I was going to get these snacks, and the girl came around and she said, and I was asking, was that vegan? Is that vegan? She says, hold it. She said, she ran back and she printed out a big list for me. So I just want to let you know, you can get it in the store. All you got to do is ask them, and they will print out a list of everything vegan in Trader Joe's for you right there on the spot. So I just wanted to share that information with you.
Thank you.
Nicholas ready to ask another question.
Yeah, this is a good one, but we evolved from cavemen. They were carnivores. I know like the opposite of the whole Bible thing.
Yeah, we have the Bible, we have evolution.
We're not carnivores if you look at us physiologically. The difference between us and carnivores is that carnivores have sharp teeth that are designed to rip flesh apart. Carnivores have short intestines, so they can eat raw meat and it goes right through, which is why lions are fed raw meat and they don't get sick from bacterial infections because it just goes right through their system. Our intestines are like 30 feet long or something, so that's why we have to cook our meat. Meat eaters have to cook their meat until it's practically burnt to get rid of all the possible bacterial stuff because that's why they say meat rots in your colon. By the time it gets down to your digestive system, you could have been insulted by whatever infections it had or whatever bacterial growths it had. So our bodies are not carnivore bodies. Our teeth are not, our intestines are not. We don't have the enzymes to absorb nutrients from meat. So the idea that we are carnivores today makes no sense to me. If you look at our teeth alone, it's obvious that we're not carnivores.
And there's a strong link between people who eat a lot of meat and colon cancer.
Yeah.
But I get hung up on that a little bit, because what they tell me is, all right, we're primates, and to take a look at the chimpanzees. I mean, they will attack and eat others. So, it's not completely, because we're slightly different, it's not 100% that way. How would you answer
I
that?
think a good answer to that is that I need to eat plants to survive, but I don't need to eat meat or other animal products in order to survive. There's no scientific evidence that we need to consume animal products to live. So with these arguments like the caveman and the Bible and other animals, I don't understand how that really applies to me here in the life that I live and the choices that I can make. I think it's pretty irrelevant.
And I think if you really, want to learn more about it, you can Google that Cornell study that they did, where they did testing of various artifacts and bones and whatever, and they believe that meat eating is relatively new in human history, that it's only about 10,000 years that we've been eating it, and when we began to eat it, we weren't chasing down animals and ripping them apart, and we didn't have guns or anything like that. What we were actually doing was waiting until another animal fed on the carcass, and then we would glean whatever was left, the marrow and this type of thing. And that would be in times of famine. That wasn't our everyday diet. We did not eat very much animal flesh or fat or protein of any kind. But Google the Cornell study, you'll see what I'm saying. I can't quote the whole thing to you because we don't have the time.
DJ's right, though. A lot of the evidence for what early people ate is really up in the air. It's not conclusive. We don't know basically whether it was mostly meat or mostly not meat, but the evidence seems to be that it was mostly plants because that was the most energy efficient for us. If you think of how much energy it would take for us to constantly be running around with spears and daggers trying to get animals to eat, which is only going to provide like a little bit of food, whereas if we, relaxed a little bit and planted crops and went around and gathered like the edible nuts and berries and seeds, that was much more energy efficient than hunting down these animals 24/7. So I'm not saying we didn't eat the animals then, but we probably didn't eat them to the extent that people like to believe that the caveman were these savage beasts that only fed on wild animals. It's just completely untrue.